How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Grand Archive video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today we have the Fractured Crown full set review. We're going to go over every single card individually and talk about them. It's probably going to be a fairly long video, hopefully not too long. There's about 90 cards to go over, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor. It is me. I'm the sponsor today. Here we have our latest playmat with art by Grand Archive fan favorite artist Honshu, and just a really great friend. We have this playmat available for pre-order on redzonerogue.com right now. It features our original character Etoile, also designed by Honshu. This is the signature edition of the mat. It has her lovely signature there, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. We are only printing 50 of these for the signature edition. We're gonna print the non-signature edition just kind of like to demand, but the signature edition only printing 50, and we've already sold almost all of them. I think we have like 13 left. So if you want it, get on it. I was very tempted to use this as the background today, but it might be a little bit distracting. Once again, Honshu, awesome artist, great friend, beautiful artwork. All right, so enough from today's sponsor. Now let's talk about some cards. This is going to be in alphabetical order because all of the images that I have are in alphabetical order, and there's no way I'm going through and numbering them individually by collector number. I apologize. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Anthem of Vitality, a 2-cost wind action tamer skill harmony that has fast speed. Target animal or beast gets +3 health and gains Spell Shroud until end of turn. Great little card to protect one of your beasties. However, it says harmonize. If you've activated a melody card this turn, put 2 buff counters on an animal or beast ally you control. This is sweet. This is effectively, you can give one single animal or beast +2/+5 if you activate that harmony, or you can split up. You can give one +3 health. You can give the other one 2 buff counters. This is just a common card. I think this card is pretty sweet, and I think this is indicative of things to come. They are really juicing up the Tamer class. So overall, I think this card's pretty sweet. All right, next up we have Erendite, Azure Blade. This card is insane, and we are going to recap cards that we've talked about before, just so this is a complete review. Okay, so Erendite is an incredibly powerful card. This is a 1-cost Regalia Weapon Warrior Sword with 1 attack and 2 durability class bonus. On enter, you may banish any amount of cards with floating memory from your graveyard. For each card banished this way, put a refinement counter on Erendite, and it gets +2 for each refinement counter. And you combine that with Mordred, and this thing just absolutely is just a huge damage dealing weapon and demands a response. This card is going to have decks built around it. This is so good. This is a build around card. Very powerful. It's a super rare. It's one that everyone's going to want if you're going to want to play this kind of like water Mordred kind of like wombo combo. There are cards to deal with this in the set though, so let's move on. Next up we have Avatar of Gaia. Absolutely gorgeous artwork here. There's a 1-cost Terra card, unique ally tamer avatar. It's actually just Gaia. It has ally link, which means when this enters the field, it enters linked to target ally. If the link is broken, sacrifice this object. It has class bonus Preserve, which is great. And it has linked ally, has taunt, and loses pride. So you can give this to your giant, what was it called? It's that line Virtus. You can give this to Virtus, so you can actually like crundle on in for like 9 damage. Also, he has like taunt now. Pretty sweet. I think this card's cool. I think this is one that a lot of Tamer players are definitely going to want to play with. It is that advanced element, but it only costs 1. To note, this is a main deck card. This is not a card that goes into your materialization deck. So that means that you'll have to draw into this, right? But it does have Preserve, which is great. So even if you get rid of it, you can kind of just keep coming back. So yeah, this is an interesting card. It's just a rare too. It's interesting. I think people will play around with this for sure. Next up, we have Azure Protective Trinket. Now, we have a couple of these in the set, and they all do different things targeted around specific stuff. One of them is going to be errated, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. This one is a 0-cost Regalia item Cleric accessory. Banish Azure Protective Trinket. Banish up to 3 target fire element cards from a single graveyard. So this is just some fire hate to kind of like stem down all of the rending flames, fire shenanigans, and you know, any other fire shenanigans that might be going on as well. So this is just a great card to have either in your sideboard or in your material deck, so you can you know, play around, you know, sideboard stuff. It's good. Keeps the busted stuff in check. Next up, we have Beast Soul Visage. This is a 0-cost Regalia item, tamer accessory. We're seeing actually a lot of stuff from the material deck in this set, which is really interesting. And I actually really like that, because all of this stuff, since it's in your material deck, you basically start the game with it more or less in your hand, right? Because you have access to it. It has Ally Link. We've already gone over that. Linked ally gets +2 attack and has Pride 3, and is a beast in addition to its other attacks. So this, or other types. So this is just a way to pump up something's attack by +2. I would like to note that this is a tamer accessory, but you can put it in any deck, right? And I've been thinking about putting this into like an aggro fire assassin deck and slapping this onto something with stealth, like perma stealth, and then you can just like smash in over and over again. It's just gonna be really hard to deal with. You do need that, you know, level. You need to be level 3 for it to obey you, because it gets Pride 3. But I think this card's cool, and I can see people playing around with this. It's interesting. It's cool. It's cool. Next up, we have Bedivere Woodland Overseer. This card is really sweet. Bedivere is a 1/4 3-cost normal unique ally, tamer, animal, human. This does have class bonus, so you do care about the tamer part. Bedivere has taunt as long as you control another beast or ally, and class bonus level 3 plus on death. Put a buff counter on each animal and or beast ally you control. This is sweet. This is a great card. Protects your dudes, pumps your dudes. I really like Bedivere. Once again, we're seeing a lot of great tamer support, and I think it is very needed. So yeah, I like this. And remember, taunt is a little bit different than intercept. Taunt means your opponent has to attack it. It's like taunt from Hearthstone. So yeah, forces your opponent to attack into it, and then it pumps all your dudes if you're level 3+. This card's great. Next up, we have Blanche, Sheltering Saint. Yeah, Blanche is also incredibly strong. This is one of the chase cards of the set. This is one that I definitely want a full playset of. Blanche is a 2-cost 1/2 unique ally, cleric human, a level 2+ fast activation, so you can play her at fast speed if you're level 2+. And it says, if another unit you control would be dealt non-attack damage, prevent an amount of that damage equal to the amount of cards in your memory. So at base level, if you're level 2+, you can play Blanche, and she'll prevent 2 non-attack damage to any other unit, just kind of like statically, which is great. I think Blanche is super, super good. I think she can get into aggro decks because she's just a pretty efficiently costed. A 1/2 for 2 in Grand Archive is like not bad at all. And just really, really good effect. Protects your board. Really, really nasty in stealth decks, because she protects your dudes from non-attack damage, and then your stealth dudes can't be attacked. So like, she's just really good at protecting your field. Yeah, really like Blanche a lot. One of the chase cards. Next up, we have Blazing Bowman. It's a 3-drop 2/1. Blazing Bowman's attacks can't be retaliated, which is really, really cool. On enter, you may banish a fire element card from your graveyard. If you do, Blazing Bowman gets +2 until end of turn. So he effectively is a 4/1 on the turn you play him, and then you can just smash it and shoot something for 4 damage. I like this card quite a bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up playing it in my fire aggro deck, but it is good. It's like a body that also acts as like sort of removal, because you just smash in for 4 damage and it can't be retaliated. So it's just kind of like a free kill there. I don't know. I'm on my feet on this one, but it's cool. And I like this whole like can't be retaliated on ranger cards. I hope to see some more like that in the future. We have Capricious Lynx, really cute card. This is a 3-drop 3/3. Good stats. Pride 4. Ooh, but of course, the stats are too good. And it says, class bonus on enter, Capricious Lynx loses all abilities until end of turn. So if you are a tamer, then you can immediately attack with the Lynx, and then it'll gain Pride on your next turn. Pretty solid. I'm not sure if tamer decks are looking to run this. It's just a 3/3 for 3, basically, that has no abilities other than like getting rid of its own downside. But I like the space here, and I like that they're giving tamers more tools to play with. Next up, we have Cloak of Stillwater, another material deck card, Regalia item, Assassin Accessory. This is a 1-drop. First of all, I love this card. I just want to say. This is a 1-drop Class bonus on enter, draw a card. Yo. Assassin, draw a card. Yo, let's go. And it says you can rest it and banish a card with floating memory from your graveyard. Prevent the next 3 damage to be dealt to your champion this turn. This is perfect in my favorite deck currently, which is a water Xander. Pardon me, a water Xander deck. And I think this might get in. It's like a water control Xander deck, and I've been really liking like the water assassin lately. Has some really cool allies and just really cool effects. And I think Fractured Crown is going to give it some really nice buffs. So we'll talk about that as we go on. I like this card a lot. I will probably play with it to some degree. Next up, we have Korhazi Arsonist. Well, love any of the Korhazi assassin girls here. This is a 3-drop 2/2. Ally assassin human. Remove a prep counter from your champion. She gains stealth until end of turn, and if a unit hit by Korhazi assassin this turn would die, banish it instead. I'm not really sold on this card quite yet. If like graveyard recursion becomes a really big thing, I guess it can against certain decks that want to like banish stuff from their graveyard, but I don't know. I don't know. Gives you a reason to use your prep counters, but I'd rather use my prep counters for more impactful stuff. Love the art. Amazing, beautiful art. Effect-wise, I'm not sure. Next up, we have Korhazi Outlook. Korhazi Outlook, once again. This is a 1/3 for 2. On enter, put a prep counter on your champion. I do like that. A class bonus, remove a prep counter from your champion. Opponents can't activate cards this turn. Glimpse 1, activate this ability only during your turn. So, you can only do this during your turn, which makes it so your opponent can't play fast speed stuff, which can be pretty good against certain classes. Like it's really good against mage. It's really good against like other tricksy kind of stuff going on. It's a 1/3 for 2. Art, once again, is really good. Is it the same artist? Hold on. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's the same artist. Great work. I'm iffy on this one. I do like you're putting the counter on it. I like this one a lot more than the Arsonist, though. I think the Outlook seems pretty sweet, though it is wind, and I'm not sure how wind assassin's doing, but hey, maybe in Fractured Crown. And of course, completing the cycle, we have Korhazi Trapper. This one, art by Honchu, very cute. This is a 3-drop 1/3. On enter, put a prep counter on your champion, tap it or rest it, remove a prep counter from your champion. Target unit's attack gets -3 until end of turn. I really like this because this affects your opponent's champion. It says unit, not ally. So you can totally do this to affect your opponent's champion, which is really great. Do they all? No, they're all differently costed, and some of them don't put prep counters. Okay. I thought that was kind of like a theme. There's some mini theme going on here, but love the art by Honchu. I think this one's really good. And it might get into my deck. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure on this one yet. Maybe. That's a very firm maybe. Next up, we have Covenant of Thorns. This is another Regalia item. This is a Tamer accessory, costs 1. Class bonus costs 1 less to materialize, so it's basically free unless we get a new Tamer or a new Terra hero in the future. Ally link, and it says if damage would be dealt to your champion, that damage is dealt to the linked ally instead. This is crazy if you put it on a really chunky ally. Yeah, I think this card is quite good. And I think it could be really good in stabilizing Tamer. I imagine Tamers are going to play with this. It's basically free to play. I think this card's really good, and it looks actually really annoying, especially for aggro decks, right? Because instead of killing your opponent, now you have to kill their big annoying beast. Next up, we have Crimson Protective Trinket. So here we have another one of the protective trinkets. This one, 1-drop Regalia item, Cleric accessory, banish it. Target opponent reveals 2 cards at random from their memory. Banish each wind element card revealed this way. So yeah, this is another one of the trinkets. This one, it's you know, once again, these are kind of like specific hosers. This one hoses over wind element cards, and I think it'd actually be pretty good in heavy wind element decks, like, you know, Wind Lorraine or something like that, because it basically forces like them to discard 2 cards, right? If you hit 2 wind element cards on this, even though it is at random, you force them to basically discard those cards because they don't get them back. So I think this is powerful. Just another really good tool in the toolbox against very specific decks. It's strong. It's a very strong card. Next up, we have Cunning Broker, another absolutely great art by Honshu. I think this is going to be an iconic piece. Look at this. Look at this dude. All right, so it's a 2-cost 0/3 with stealth, and you can rest it and remove 2 prep counters from your champion to draw a card. I don't know if this is the payoff that I want for my prep counters, but I do really like the art. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about this card. I don't think it's great. It can't attack. I don't know. I don't think it's that great, but you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are like, oh, this is going to be a great draw engine, but it's really hard to put prep counters on your dude anyway. All right, next up we have Dawn of Ashes, the name of the first set. So this is a 3-cost unique domain cleric cataclysm, which is really cool that cataclysm is a type. It says upkeep at the beginning of your recollection phase, reveal a card at random from your memory. If that card is not a norm element, sacrifice Dawn of Ashes. Non-norm element cards cost 1 more to activate. So this is for a norm element deck. You want to have a lot of norm elements, and then you want to hose over everyone who is not playing norm. I think this might end up being a deck. It also just might be too cute right now, and you might really just need the elements. But the foundation is there for something spicy in the future. I think this is a wait and see type of card. You gotta keep your eye on this one, just kind of going out in the future. It could just be the type of card that you just drop on 1 turn just to hose over your opponent's next turn, right? That is definitely something you could do. Like just play this just to make your opponent's next turn really tough, and then maybe it doesn't stick around. So I can see it for that too. Maybe in like control decks. Interesting. I've kind of talked myself into this card a little more. I think it's interesting. I'm definitely going to consider this actually for like heavy control decks like my Water Xander. I'm not sure, but maybe. Next up, we have one of the fractals. This is Deep Sea Fractal. It's a 2-cost Fantasia Cleric Fractal. It enters rested, and on enter, each player puts a top card of their deck into their graveyard, and it has reservable, which means when paying for a reserve cost, you may rest this object to pay 1 for that cost. So it's kind of like a mana rock. It's a 2-drop one. I think this one is pretty interesting. It's pretty low cost. You really have to care about milling cards, but if you do, I think this is really good. The fact that it enters rested is a little bit of a big downside, but I can see people playing with this, especially in like a mill style deck, and maybe even not in a mill style deck. Next up, we have Dematerialize, featuring one of my favorite characters from the new set. It's the Maid Assassin. Of course, I would like the character. It's a 3-drop slow spell. Return target Regalia to its material deck. This is pretty sweet. It's just a 3-drop to just yeet any Regalia, and just get it out of there. So I do like this. It can be good against something like Erendite or just any other pesky Regalia, Lantern, just whatever. So I do like this, but it's more of a temporary solution. It only is a 3. It only 3-drop's kind of a lot. I don't know. We'll see. Art is really good though. Art is really good though. I think this is one that you just have to consider, right? If you're playing Wind and you need Regalia removal, here you go. But I think there might be some more interesting stuff coming up. Next up, we have Develop Mana. I'm not a huge fan of this card. It's a 3-drop slow a mage spell. Put a level counter on your champion. That's all it does, right? Just puts a level counter on your champion, which means champions get +1 level for each level counter on them. So it just increases your champion's level by 1. It costs 3 to play. It feels like it might be a bit of a waste, but who knows? I think it might find a home. It just feels really slow to me. And there's so many like allies that give your champion like +1 level, and then they also like draw a card when they die or something. Like, those feel just much better to me value-wise. This might find a home somewhere, but it just feels too slow, honestly. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to say that too much, but we have Displace featuring best new wife. Morgana, or is it Morgan? It's one of those. Displace 2-drop action cleric mage spell. Banish an ally, then return it to the field under its owner's control. Then you get to put an enlighten counter on your champion for class bonus. So this basically flickers something, and then you get to put an enlighten counter on your champion. I think this card could be really, really good with when you combine like on enter effects. Yeah, I like this card. I think it's really interesting. And putting an Enlighten counter is not terrible at all. If this is the first mage spell and you're running Rye, you could put 2 Enlighten counters on it from Rye's hero ability or champion ability. So I kind of dig this card. I kind of dig this one. Yeah, I like this one. And the fact that it enters rested too, just as great against your opponent if, you know, if they're trying to attack with something big. This kind of like stalls them for a turn. I don't know. I do like this one. Next up, we have Effigy of Gaia. This is a 0-drop Regalia item, Tamer Bauble. This has class bonus. Your champion gets +1 level as long as you control an animal or beast ally. That's really, really good. The most of the time that you actually care about gaining more levels with Tamer and Beast is when you have Tamer is when you have an ally or animal or beast ally that has pride. So like that's just obvious. And it says whenever an opponent activates an attack card with cleave, animal and beast allies you control gain +2 health. I really like this card a lot. I think this is really, really good for Tamer. You get that static +1 level basically, and then it just protects your board from like one of the most nasty things in the game right now, and that's those big pumped up cleave attacks. I think this card's really sweet, and I think it's really making Wind Tamer into like kind of a house. Next up, we have Explosive Rune. This is a 0-drop Regalia item, mage artifact. Banish Explosive Rune. Deal 1 damage to target ally. Class bonus. If that ally is attacking, deal 2 damage instead. So this is basically like a, you know, 0 cost, 2 damage thing that you have access to at all times from your material deck. I think this could be an interesting card. I'm not sure if it's impactful enough to warrant a slot in your material deck, but 0 cost... I think in limited, this is insane, by the way. I think in limited, this is absolutely crazy. In constructed, I don't know. I don't know if it's impactful enough. I really want my material deck cards to be really impactful. And this is like, maybe kills a dude? Maybe? I don't know. Next up, we have Fast Cure. 2-drop cleric spell fast. If target opponent's influence is greater than yours, recover 4. Influence is a number of cards in your hand plus a number of cards in your memory. This also has floating memory. I think this card's really good. In fact, do I run this in Water Xander? Maybe. I'm running a bunch of just stuff that has floating memory just because they have floating memory. And some of them are like fine, but like not super good. And this one's just like gains you life and also has floating memory. It's also fast. I really like this card a lot in control decks. And floating memory is just a huge thing in Grand Archive. So yeah, I like this card a lot. I will maybe play with it. The influence thing is tricky because if you're playing a control deck, there's a good chance you actually have more cards than your opponent. But then again, Lorraine can draw a disgusting amount of cards. So who knows? I like this one a lot. Next up, we have Fire Tongue. This is a 1-drop, 2-attack, 1 durability Regalia weapon warrior sword. Class bonus on attack. You can banish a fire element card in your graveyard. If you do, put a durability counter on Fire Tongue. So basically, you can keep attacking with this as long as you can keep banishing fire element cards from your graveyard. This is a warrior card. I mean, 2-attack is pretty good, right? 2-attack is like pretty solid. And you can just keep attacking with it. Maybe in like a fire aggro warrior style deck that relies a little bit less on the combo and more just kind of like on this constant pressure turn after turn. I'm kind of iffy on this one, but it seems like it could be pretty good. I might be crazy. It might be like insane. Is it insane? Let me know in the comments down below. Next up, we have Flame Break Chorus. This is a 2-drop action, Tamer Skill Melody, slow speed, class bonus, fast activation. Target ally gets +2 until end of turn. If it's defending, wake it up and it gets an additional plus level until end of turn, which is really interesting. Plus level attack, I should say. So it'll gain attack equal to your champion's level. That's what this means, right? It'll get +2, and then if it's defending, wake it up, and it gets an additional plus level, which means your champion's level attack. I don't know. I would really want more pump cards for fire for my fire aggro deck, right? It just feels like it can't get there right now, but with the fire assassin aggro deck. And this one only really does it for Tamer with a fast activation. It's like a 2 for a +2. If it's defending, you can make it huge. I'm not sure about this one. I like some of the other Tamer stuff better. Here we have Fractal of Insight. I think this card's really good and we'll see play for sure. This is on enter, you may rest Fractal of Insight. If you do, Glimpse 2. So when you play it, you can rest it, and then Glimpse 2 is basically like Opt 2 or Scry 2. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck and you can put them back on top or the bottom in whatever order. And it also has that reservable ability. And this is just a 2-drop. I think this card's really, really good, and I think this one will definitely see play. And it's a common, so a lot of people are going to have it. This card's super good. Yeah, that's all there is to it. If you want to play like fractals, which I think a lot of people will, I think this is good. Next up, we have Fractal of Intrusion. This is a 3-drop fractal. On enter, you may banish a card with floating memory from your graveyard. When you do, look at target opponent's memory and discard a card from it. I think this card is insane. Also has that reservable as well, so you can actually play this and then immediately activate the reservable thing. And also banish a card of floating memory from your graveyard, and then you're gonna look at your target opponent's memory and then discard a card from it. This card's crazy. This card is so good. This is a slam dunk in my water Xander deck. Easy like playset. Like, this card's crazy. It's just a rare too. I think this card is just so good. Gives you resources over time, which is just less stuff that you have to have in your hand to play with, which is just the bonus of all of the fractals. But just making your opponent discard a card basically is it's really good. And I have so many floating memories that that's not going to be a problem at all. Next up, we have the Fractured Crown itself, a card that I spoiled. Hey, look at this. I think this card's pretty good, but maybe not crazy. I still think it's pretty good. It's a 0-drop champion link regalia item warrior artifact, and it says linked champions first attack each turn gets +2, and class bonus. That champion also gets +2 health for each unique ally card in your graveyard. Now, currently there is not really a way to do that other than Trisket, and Trisket is just kind of a meme right now. But giving your champion +2 attack every single turn is like not bad. And if you're playing Xander, then that's like a nice little buff, because he gets a buff from attacking any rested allies every single turn. So this just is like a nice little buff every turn. And I think it combines really well with the Varekan Soul Knife that we're going to talk about in a little bit. It's not an explosive card. This is a good card that is just like value over time. So yeah, I think it's not bad at all. Am I going to play it in my Xander decks? Maybe. I'm going to try it in both of them. It might end up being better in water because it's, you know, leans itself to more a slow kind of strategy rather than like a big bursty fire strategy. But still, I don't know. Like, once again, I mentioned this in my reveal video, but you can combo this with anything that really cares about damage, like your Rending Flames, and then just any other weapons that you want to attack with it. It just adds up to a lot of damage, and it's just every turn. So I think it's pretty good. Not like super insane yet, but pretty good. Next up, we have Fracturize. This card is also quite good. This is a 2-drop action Cleric Mage spell, fast. Target item or weapon becomes a Cleric Fractal Fantasia with reservable and loses all of other abilities. This effect lasts indefinitely. Floating memory. I think this card is insane. When it says indefinitely, that's like while it remains on the field. I'm like pretty sure. I am pretty sure. If it returns to your hand or returns to like your material deck or banishment, I think it becomes the regular self then. It doesn't keep... It's not still a fractal, right? But it's still super good, like against Erendite. It has floating memory. This has floating memory. This card is really, really good. There's another one that I'm 100% playing in my Water Xander deck. It's really good. Maybe a sideboard card, but still crazy. We have Frostbind. Okay. We have so many good water stuff. This is another one of the cards that I am 1,000,000% playing. I want a full play set of foils. Lunette is awesome. It's the character in the artwork here. This card is crazy. So this is a 2-drop, fast, action, cleric spell, reaction, negate target card activation, which is playing a card, unless its controller pays 2. Banish the card that had its activation negated this way. This is so good. When it says pays 2, that means they have to pay 2 reserve, like 2 cards from their hand. So this is like counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. And in Grand Archive, that is so debilitating. I think this card is incredible. And once again, another 4 of in my Water Xander deck. This is such a good card. Yep, that's all there is to say about that. This is going to be a staple. Next up, we have Frostbinder Apostle artwork. That's 3-drop 0/2 with intercept. And it says level 2+ on enter, target rested ally you don't control gets -4 health until end of turn. which is actually pretty cool. I actually like this card quite a bit. I'm not sure if this makes it into my deck, but this is a card that just kills a dude when it enters. If you're level 2+ on enter, kill a rested ally with 4 or less health. It also has intercept, so it can also block for you. I like this card quite a bit. This is a nice little, not quite a 2-for-1, but it's a great little card that comes down and kind of like helps stabilize your board. It might make it into my water deck. Man, there's so many good water cards in this set. I think this is a sweet one. Definitely considering playing it. Next up, we have Goarin, Chivalrous Thief. I love this card. It's a 1/1 for 2 with True Sight. It's an Assassin Ranger Human. Perfect class combination. Class bonus on champion hit. You may sacrifice Goarin. If you do, look at that opponent's memory and discard a card from it. Yes, yes, yes. This is more of the stuff that I want. This combined with, let's go back a couple cards. This combined with the Fractal of Intrusion, just makes the control game so good. You have like counter spells now. You have cards that you look at your opponent's memory and discard stuff. This is sweet. Yeah, I'm definitely running this, and I'm definitely trying this whole like discard control water deck, right? It's so sweet. Next up, we have a really cute card, Gentle Respite. It's a 3-cost card. Very sad. It's a very sad. I think, what's actually going on here? Is this Merlin in the art consoling Sylvie? Who's dead? Anyway, so it's a 3-cost slow. If target opponent's influence is greater than yours, draw a card into your memory, and this has floating memory. I think this is really sweet. This is just another really good floating memory card. It has floating memory, can maybe draw you a card. I don't know. I think this is really good. I think a lot of decks will want to play this for sure. And a lot of decks that I have personally, like my aggro fire deck, it just has a problem just running out of cards and not enough floating memory. And I think this helps both. So there's a lot of good cards in this set. Next up, we have Green Slime. Oh, I love it. We had the blue slime. Now we have the green and the red slime coming up. Green Slime is a 3-cost 0/1 with Pride 3. On enter, put 2 buff counters on Green Slime, so it's basically a 2/3. On leave, put the buff counters that were on Green Slime on target ally you control. So this kind of like combos with any other buff counters. So if Green Slime gets other buff counters, it can move them all onto another ally you control. It's a nice little card. Yeah, I like this. I like this for the Wind Tamer deck. It's very resilient, right? Because it's like a pain in the butt to kill, because if someone kills it, then you just move the buff counters onto something else. I like it. Next up, we have Guarded Dissipation. And here we have Mordred in the artwork here. And who's this in the art? Is this... Oh, is this Gildas? Anyway, so we have Guarded Dissipation. It's a 2-cost action warrior skill reaction with fast. Prevent the next X damage to be dealt to target unit this turn, where X is the greatest power among sword weapons you control. Level 1+, draw a card. Yeah, I mean, like, this is like Mordred all over. Oh, by the way, Honshu, great art. But like, if you have that massive Erendite that has like 30 attack, you just like prevent 30 damage, draw a card. Maybe that's Magical Christmas Land, but I think this definitely goes into that Mordred deck for sure. Next up, we have Honed by Fire with our boy Arthur. This is a 2-cost fast action warrior sword craft. Target sword weapon you control gets +2 until end of turn. Class bonus, put a durability counter on it. This is pretty funny for those like big wombo combo turns, the Rending Flame turns, right? Where you just like, sure, I'll just pump up my sword and then Rending Flames you for even more damage. Does this make it into that deck? Maybe. Like, maybe? Is it maybe a Win More card? I'm not sure, but I think it's cool. And I think this will be great in draft for sure. It might be too Win More for Constructed, but I really like it. I dig it. Next up, we have Illuminate Secrets. This one's another interesting card. This is a 2-drop Assassin Mage spell. Fast. Deal an amount of damage to target unit equal to its owner's influence minus your influence. So basically, if they have a bunch of cards and you don't have very many cards, you can deal a crap load of damage, right? So I think this is actually could be pretty good in my Fire Xander deck, because I just burn out of all the cards, like I said, and maybe I just don't have very many cards, and your opponent has like 9 cards, and you just kill them. So I don't know, maybe it seems too situational for me personally, but no, it seems too situational for me personally, so I probably won't run it. But it's an interesting card, and I really like the design space. We have Imperious Highlander, beautiful artwork. 3-drop 2/2. This is the one that is a promo that you cannot play until Fractured Crown comes out. On enter, Imperious Highlander gets plus X attack until end of turn, where X is the amount of allies target opponent controls more than you. So this is actually a pretty cool card. Could push a lot of damage. This is a cool like swingy card, right? So if your opponent just has a bunch of dudes and you don't have very many dudes, you can be like, boom, attack you for like a crap load, which I think is kind of cool. I'm not sure if this makes it into many constructed decks. It doesn't seem quite as impactful, but in limited, I think this is very, very good and great at killing your opponent's like rested allies for sure. Next up, we have Incarnate Majesty. This is the one that summons the Majestic Spirit. So we'll talk about the Majestic Spirit when we get to it, but this is how you play the Majestic Spirit. This is class bonus efficiency, so it costs less for each level your champion has, and it's a mage spell. It says this costs 1 less to activate for each regalia weapon in your banishment, so it's a double down there. You have a cost less for each level you have, cost less for each regalia weapon. And it says put a card named Majestic Spirit from your material deck or banishment onto the field. So we'll talk about that when the time comes. It's just a big old thing that protects you. Next up, we have the Incendiary Fractal. It's a 4-drop fractal. On enter, deal 2 damage to target ally you don't control. Class bonus, 4 damage to that ally instead with reserval. I think this is really, really sweet in a Fire Rye deck. This is a card that generates you resources, but also just kills a dude when you play it. I really like this card, and I will be testing it out in my Fire Rye deck for sure. Just 4 damage to any ally, and then it also has that reservable. I really, really think this reservable Fantasia Fractal thing is actually quite strong, so I like this card a lot. All right, next up, we have Innovate Agility. This is a really, really interesting card. This is a 2-drop mage spell reaction, fast speed. As initial cost to activate this card, de-level your champion and recover 5. To de-level your champion, return the top card of its lineage to your material deck. And it also says, units you control gain your choice of Stealth or Spell Shroud. This is a really, really interesting card. The fact that this says units also applies to your ally, right? So you can give your ally, it applies to your champion, right? Not just allies. So you can give your champion Stealth for the turn, so it makes so they can't attack, or you can give them Spell Shield for the turn, which means your opponent can't kill them if they're playing like a Rye deck or something like this. I think this card's super interesting, and sometimes de-leveling your champion might be good if your champion has a really strong on-enter effect, and you also gain 4 life, or gain 5 life. I think this card's really good. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's good. There's so many good cards in this set, and I can see stuff like this just being really annoying in the current meta. Now we have Innervate Fury. Once again, this is a part of a cycle here. This is a 3-drop action mage spell. Slow. As initial cost to activate this card, de-level your champion and recover 5. Deal 7 damage split among any amount of target allies. So this only hits allies. You can't hit your opponent's face with this, but I still think this is really sweet. I like both of these effects because they basically protect you, right? This one's a little bit more proactive because it kills allies, or this one is a little more defensive because it just protects all of your units, including your champion. But once again, I still like this de-level effect. If they print like really powerful on-enter effects, it could be very, very strong. 7 damage is like not nothing too. And finally, we have Innervate Knowledge. This is the water version. Once again, as additional cost to activate this card, de-level your champion and recover 5. Draw 2 cards. This reminds me of a magic card called Gush. Unfortunately, it's not free to play like Gush is, but it just, I don't know why it reminds me. I mean, there's the drawing 2 cards and the costing 4 part. Is this good? I don't know. I like the other 2 better, but maybe this is just good for de-leveling your champion, right? I think the de-level mechanic could be really interesting, especially if they print multiple level 3s in the future. So like maybe you can go to like 1 Xander level. I mean, you can already do that right now. So you can go from 1 level 3, right, to a different level 3. So I mean, that is definitely something you can do if you have 2 level 3s in your material deck. I don't know about this one though. It seems a little, drawing 2 cards is great, but the other 2 are really focused on like saving you, and this doesn't really save you. This is way more proactive. This is like, hey, I need to draw more cards to win or something like that. Next up, we have the Intrepid Spearman. Once again, great artwork. 4-drop 2/2. Hey, I like all the waifus, all right. Level 1+. The first time Time attack damage would be dealt to Intrepid Spearman each turn. Reveal a card at random from your memory. If it's a wind element, prevent 3 of that damage. Just kind of an annoying card to deal with. I think this is not super great in Constructed, but possibly very, very strong in Limited. I feel like this is a limited card. Next up, we have Crawl, Stone Scale Tyrant. This is going to be a pain in the butt. Crawl is a 5-drop 6/8 that says, as an additional cost to activate this card, which means playing it from your hand, banish 2 preserved cards from your material deck. So you actually need to preserve 2 cards, right? Which is like the whole like Terra thing. So you can't just play this the second you turn Terra. You need to have 2 cards preserved in your material deck. But if you're able to do that, this has Intercept, Spell Shroud, True Sight, and Vigor, and class bonus on attack. Reveal the top 2 cards of your deck and put them into your material deck preserved so you can play more Crawls. This dude's a house, and he's going to change the way people play the game because he is game warping. Very strong, and you just got to find a way to kill him. Note, in this game, Spell Shroud does not mean cannot be targeted. It just means it can't be targeted by spells. So you can have other things that are like skills and abilities and stuff that don't say the word spell on it can still target Crawl. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have our big boy, Lancelot, Goliath of Asa. He's a 4-drop 2/3 with Hindered, which means he enters rested. Class bonus, he is a Guardian Warrior Human. So if you are a Guardian or a Warrior and level 2+, he gets +2 health. And then on attack, you can pay 3, which means, you know, put 3 cards from your hand down or use your fractals to pay for them. He gets +3 attack. So he can be a 5/5 for 4 if you have some hoops to jump through, right? If you're level 2+ Guardian Warrior and if you pay for the cost. Just a 2/5 for 4 is actually not bad in Grand Archive, and getting that pump is actually pretty good. I like him. I like Lancelot. I think he might actually make it into my water Xander deck because at some point I just need to keep putting cards into my memory to turn them face up to Xander's champion effect, Xander Blinding Steel, which is like you turn during your recollection phase, you reveal the cards in your memory, and then you want to basically trigger the on reveal effects, and Lancelot lets you keep doing that. So you just keep attacking Lancelot, put the 3 cards down that you want to flip up, and then just keep it on. So yeah, I like it. And also he's a 5/5 if you do that. Well, actually he's not a 5/5. You're playing Assassin, so he'd be a 5/3. He wouldn't get the bonus unless you're playing Warrior or Guardian. Anyway, we have a Lurking Assailant, good old ninja boy. This is a 3-drop 2/3, good stats. He has stealth as long as it's awake and level 1+. He may retaliate against attackers while not defending, which is pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet, right? Like anytime anyone's attacking one of your other things, he just jumps in and punches them for 2. I don't know if, once again, I don't know if this makes it into constructed decks, but I think this is very, very good for limited. Maybe you can make it into constructed decks here or there if you want to be more defensive, but I don't know. It seems sweet. He just sneaks on in and just ganks you. We have Mark of Fervor next. This is an ally link Fantasia. It's kind of like a creature enchantment if you're familiar with Magic. The 2-drop linked ally gets +1 attack and +1 health and vigor. Nice little buff here. I'm not sure if it's impactful enough to make it into decks, but it might be. +1/+1 in vigor is pretty good. Putting that on something nasty could be gross. So maybe. I really do think the Wind Tamer deck is gonna make a splash here in Fractured Crown. Next up, we have Merlin Kingslayer. Yeah, I mean, this is a new champion, and I think it's going to be a whole deck archetype around itself. It's a level 3, cost 3, champion, mage, warrior, human. So this is a dual class champion, the first dual class champion. Merlin lineage. You can only play this from Merlin. At the beginning of your recollection phase, put a level counter on Merlin. Then, if there's an even amount of level counters on Merlin, draw a card, and Merlin's attacks get +2 until end of turn. So yep, I think she's going to be very strong. I think people are going to want to build like this kind of like hybrid attack with sword kind of thing, slash, you know, level her up to get some like big bonuses from like fireball and all that kind of stuff. I think this card's very, very strong, and people will definitely make decks. Is it a meta deck? It actually might be. I mean, drawing a card every other turn is just crazy. Like drawing an extra card every other turn and getting the +2 attack. This is super good. And yeah. Also, she's Crux. She's Crux element, so you get all the Crux stuff, like Lorraine. Pretty much sure that Merlin stole Lorraine's body in the lore. We have Morgan, Soul Guide. Best new bodacious waifu. This is a 2-drop 1/3. This is actually an insanely powerful card. Level 1+, prevent all non-attack damage will be dealt to Morgan. Level 2+, your opponents can't recover, which means they can't heal. And then class bonus, so if you're a cleric or a mage, at the beginning of your recollection phase, you may glimpse one if you don't recover one. This is an insanely powerful card. Slam dunk in every single mage deck and probably every single cleric deck going in the future, and maybe even non-mage decks, because just preventing all non-attack damage to be dealt to Morgan and then making your opponent so they can't recover could be just a really nice silver bullet card. But mostly I just think that mage decks, this is so good. Next up, we have Ocean's Blessing. This is another one of our creature enchantment type things. This is the water one. 2-drop ally link. Linked ally gets +1 health and has taunt. And this also has floating memory. This is really annoying. And on the art here, you have this turtle. And there's a 1/6 turtle in the game. And you can give that turtle 1/7 and give it freaking taunt. So your opponent has to kill it. This is an annoying card. And it also has floating memory. So when the turtle dies, you'll have that floating memory. I think this is really good. Yeah. I mean, if there's a water tamer deck out there, this is really good. But you don't have to play it in a water tamer deck. Like if you just want the +1 and taunt on something else, any water deck, you only get the floating memory for if you're tamer though. Next up we have Ordinary Bear. I love this. It's just an Ordinary Bear. He's a 3-drop 2/3 with Pride 2 and floating memory. I think this is very strong. The Pride 2 is a little bit, but I mean, like, it's not that hard to get to level 2, right? So this is a 2/3 bear for 3 with Pride 2 that has floating memory. That's just really solid. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good card. Great limited card. Constructed, playable, maybe. It's statted really well, and it has floating memory. I think this might be constructed playable. Next up, ooh, here we go. Once again, one of my favorite new characters from this, Parsonet, Royal Maid. Hey, I like all the waifus, but I like some of them more than others, and I really like Parsonet. I like her art more than her effect, to be honest, because I don't think her effect is crazy good. So she's a 2-cost 1/3 unique ally assassin human with art by Faicha. Oh, perfect. Level 2+ stealth, and then Rester Glimpse 1, reveal the top card of your deck. When you reveal a wind element card this way, another target ally you control gains stealth until end of turn. So she's really good at like protecting your other stuff. I don't know how much I like this effect. It could be more powerful than I think, but honestly, like, I don't see where this slots into a deck immediately, right? You don't have to be playing assassin. There's no class bonus on here, so you can be playing, like, you can play this in your wind tamer deck to give your other dude stealth if you want. But overall, I'm not sure where Parsonet fits in, but I really love this card. Definitely want to get the collector rare of this one. Next up, we have Peaceful Reunion, which is interesting. I see the characters here. I see the story. So, like, I'm not sure what happens in the story. Is this the end of the story, or is this before Merlin steals Lorraine's body? So this is a slow 4-cost. Activate this card only if you have not declared an attack this turn. Until the beginning of your next turn, you and target player can't declare attacks. Banish Peaceful Reunion. This card is insanely powerful in a mage deck where you don't care about attacking. All you want to do is combo off and burn your opponent for, you know, 25-30 damage, right? Yeah, this is an absolute sideboard staple in those decks, and you side this in against any deck that cares about attacking, which is most of them in the game. This is just a common card. It's crazy. This card is very strong and will win you games. I'm still curious what's going on in the art here, though. I gotta know the lore. Next up, we have Prismatic Sanctuary. I really love the art in this card, and I think this is a card for future deck builds. This is a 3-drop unique domain mage castle upkeep. At the beginning of your recollection phase, reveal a card at random from your memory. If that card is not fire, water, nor wind, sacrifice Prismatic Sanctuary. So it's the opposite of the Dawn of Ashes, right? This is all element. You have to reveal an element. No norms here. And then fire, water, and wind elements are enabled for you. And you might be like, oh, that's cool. I could play all of them. Keep in mind, you have to draw this card and then play it before that happens. So until that moment happens, if you are like, you know, 30% of each of these, you won't be able to play 60% of your deck, right? So if this card was a material deck card, it would be super, super good and definitely build aroundable. But as of now, you have to draw this card in order to use this effect. And I have seen people be like, oh, you can just treat it like an advanced element. I don't think there are any combinations of cards currently in the game, and I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below, where I would take a second normal element or a second just base element over an actual advanced element, right? Just run the more powerful advanced element cards in your deck and then play them when you level up your champion to level 3. But I think this could be really cool and really powerful in the future. Right now, I think it's just a meme. Next up, we have another Fractal, Protective Fractal. This one is a 4-drop with reservable, and you can rest it to prevent the next 1 damage that will be dealt to target champion this turn. I don't think I'll be playing this card. I think it costs too much. 4 is a lot, but who knows? I mean, it could really make it into a very, very defensive deck. I want the one that makes me discard cards from my opponent's memory. That's the one that I will be playing. And also the normal one that lets you glimpse. That one's also crazy good. This one is like, it's fine, I guess. I don't know. I'm not into it. It could end up being really good, but I'm not as into it. Next up, we have Quicksilver Grail. So this is the divine relic of the set. It is a 0-cost Regalia item cleric artifact with divine relic, which means you can only have 1 card with divine relic in your material deck. So you can only have this or the Grand Crusader's Ring. And this is a really interesting card. It kind of like puts a card on layaway for you. So it says, on enter, banish a non-champion card from your material deck face down. Banish Quicksilver Grail. You may play the banished card. You still pay for its cost. Now, I think this card is very, very strong and sets up for, it makes it so you can set up very, very explosive turns. So what the initial thoughts here are like, you know, you play this and then you banish like, I don't know, like Drawn Blade, or the one that lets you draw 2 cards. So let's name that Blade of Avarice. And then on the turn that you want to pop off, you just, oh, Blade of Avarice, draw 2 cards, Drawn Blade, draw 2 cards, and draw a card. Like, you just like pop off and just have an absolutely disgusting explosive turn. And I think that that's what this card's all about, right? And I'm not sure if it lets you cheat card, or I'm not sure if it lets you cheat element types. I need to know in the like the comprehensive rules or something. Like, so if you play Quicksilver Grail and you banish your Blade of Avarice, right, and you are not Crux, can you still play it when you banish the Quicksilver Grail to play the Blade of Avarice, even if you're not Crux? It says you may play the banished card, you still pay for its costs. I don't know. If that is the case, it is even more busted than I think. Next up, we have Rally the Peasants. And here we have actual Lorraine. You can tell because her eyes are not that pink glowing color. That if her eyes are like pink and glowing, she's possessed by Merlin. Or is being controlled by Merlin, or is a Merlin puppet or clone or something. Whatever. In any case, this is a 3-cost wind slow card. Class bonus. This card costs 3 less to activate if an opponent controls 3 or more allies. So it's free if your opponent has 3 or more allies. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. You can you can reveal a human from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. I really like this card. It's class bonus, so it's only in your warrior deck. But I think, well, your opponent needs to have 3 or more allies, and then it's free. But even if you're paying 3 for this, look at the top 6 cards and put a human card from among them into your hand. I think it's still really good. There's some really, really good humans in this set. All of like the unique humans. You can get, there's a ton. Like Lancelot, Morgan. You can get Parsonet if you want. Anyway, I think this card's great, and I definitely want to play around with it. It's basically selective card draw among the top 6 cards, and it could be free. I think you want to evaluate this card not being free, being a 3-drop card, and I think as a 3-drop card, it is still very good. All right, we still have a few more cards to go. Next up, we have Red Slime. This is a 3/2 that has a cost of 3, pride 3. On death, deal damage to all allies equal to your Red Slime's power. This is sweet. It explodes and deals damage to everything. I think this is a slam dunk in Tamer Fire decks, for sure. I think the card is just very strong, and it's a nice little board wipe. You have to be careful not to kill your own dudes because it is all allies, not your opponent's allies. So keep that in mind. Great in multiplayer. Next up, we have Refracting Missile. This card's sweet. It's a 3-cost fast mage action mage spell. Deal damage to target unit equal to the amount of fractals you control +1, and then it has floating memory. I don't know if someone's gonna make a fractal deck where you're playing just a ton of fractals. It hits any unit, right? You can hit your opponent's face. And it also has floating memory. I don't know. I want to see it. I want to see the fractal deck. Does this make it into my Water Xander deck? No, I'm not going to run that many fractals. But maybe, I don't know. This is a crazy card. Next up, we have Resolute Stand. I think this card's insane, by the way. I think this is maybe one of the best cards of the set. So it's a 3-drop, fast, action, guardian, skill, reaction. Also, the art is incredible. Level 2+. You may activate this card without paying its reserved cost. If you do, skip your next draw step. If target unit would be dealt attack damage this turn, prevent 3 of that damage. So I think this is just absurdly powerful against any aggro deck at all. And if you're level 2+, you can play this for free. All you have to do is skip your next draw phase. Preventing 3 of every source of attack is absurd. If target unit be dealt attack damage this turn, it's unit. You can choose your champion. And so it's just like, I prevent 3 from everything that's coming at me. This is such a powerful card. Any card that is you can play for free, you immediately have to look at. And I think this card is immediately insanely strong. Next up, we have Rite of Realm. This is another ultra rare. This is a really interesting one. This is an item guardian accessory that is not a material deck card. This is a main deck card. And it says, whenever you activate a domain card, you may sacrifice Rite of Realm. If you do, that domain enters the field without any of its upkeep abilities. So you can combo this into your basically any domain. So you can just keep it around. This also has floating memory, which is really, really cool. Maybe you want to do a crazy domain deck. Maybe you want to do like an all domain deck with that one that enables all of the elements. So you can just have all of the domains and write a realm or something. I don't think it's competitive viable. I think it's kind of a meme, but it's cool. And I think it paves the way for future stuff. Yeah, cool card. It's also one of the first ultra rares, by the way, that you'll need a full playset of, because this is not a material deck card. You will need a four of a kind to play them. Well, all of them at least. Here we have Riptide Slash, not the Ranger. This is a 2-attack, 2-cost attack warrior sword. On attack, glimpse 2, class bonus, not too bad. On kill, put the top card of your deck into your graveyard. Do you want to mill? If the answer is yes, then you play this card. If you don't want to mill, then you don't want to play this card. That's basically it. 2 for 2 on a glimpse is fine, but you want to be a mill deck if you're playing this, like a self mill deck. All right, we have Scatter Essence. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. Some of my favorite in the entire set. I know I keep talking about it, but I mean, really. 2-cost, slow, destroy target Fantasia. Sweet. Floating memory. Sweet. Are Fantasia is going to be so much of a problem that you need to destroy them? I don't know, but this has floating memory. So that immediately makes me at least consider it. Floating memory is just insane. And if you care about Fantasias and want to blow them up, well, here you go. This is a card for you. Next up, we have Scavenging Raccoon, which I think is actually very, very good. It's a 2-drop, 1/1 on enter, banish up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. You know what? Those fire Lorraine's getting you down. Those anything fire getting you down. Play your Raccoon. It's got a monocle. He's gonna eat your berries. And also 2 cards from your graveyard. This is a really good card. I'm kind of like joking about it, but this is a super, super powerful card. It's just a 2-drop. It's a 1/1. And it just does what you want it to do in the current meta. And it just will be good generally in the future. I think it's a great card. Next, we have Seeking Shot. We have a Ranger attack, which is super cool. This is a 1-drop. This is a common card. Attacks for 1. It has True Sight level 2+. Class bonus. Seeking Shot can't be retaliated. Once again, I think this is going to be the Ranger kind of like mechanic. As long as the attacker is attacking a human ally, Seeking Shot gets +3. So it's a nice like 1 for 4 killing an ally and that they can't retaliate. I think this card is actually like quite good. I think this card's quite good. You have to have a class bonus to be the can't be retaliated thing. So we currently don't have a ranger yet. So this is just like a 1-for-4 on an ally. I don't know. Definitely draftable. Constructed? 1-for-4? Maybe. We have shock therapy. Look at this dude's fancy pants, fancy boots. This is an action mage spell for 2. Class bonus, element bonus. Whenever this card is banished from your memory, put in a light encounter on your champion. That is very, very good. And that says deal an amount of damage to target ally equal to the amount of light encounters on your champion. Interesting. It's interesting. You can't go face with this. It only hits allies. So because of that, I'm a little bit down on it, but I still think it's good, and I think it's interesting. Mage players, is this really good? This feels mid to me. I'm not sure. Next up, we have Slay the King. Well, here we have Merlin pretending to be Lorraine, killing Uther. This is a 2-cost 4 attack. Attack warrior crux card. Class bonus on attack. You may banish a card from your material deck. If you do, Slay the King gains on kill. You may play the banished card. This is really good. This is really good. On attack, you may banish a card from your material deck. If you do, it gains. You may play the banished card. This is really strong. Like I said, just any of the swords that let you draw cards, Prismatic Edge. There's so many good stuff you can play from your material deck. Like, I think this card is very strong. It's a 2-for-4. This is good. I think it's really good and very sad. Poor Uther here. Next up, we have a Song of Frost. It's a 2-drop fast. Tamer skill melody class bonus. You can banish a card with floating memory from your graveyard rather than pay this card's reserve cost, which is really interesting. You can only do that if you're a tamer though. And then it says if a unit is attacking, end the combat phase. As the phase ends, banish all triggers, activations, and materializations on effects on the stack. I think this could be good in a tamer water deck, but not much else. It's kind of a good like stall card, but I think there might be better ones out there. I do like being able to play it for free by banishing a card with floating memory. I think that is quite cool. Next up, we have okay, here we go. Spirits. These cards are insanely good. I don't want to say they're busted, but I hope you will like collecting ultra rares. Just gonna say that. This is the Spirit of Serene Fire. This is a level 0 spirit and will likely be replacing your spirits. We also have this for the other colors as well. We have water and we have wind. They all do the same thing, and I think they're all insane. So on enter, glimpse 6. So that is you look at the top 6 cards, and then you can put them back on top of the deck or put them on the bottom. Then you draw 6 cards. This is how they are introducing mulligans into the game, right? Because instead of just drawing a raw 7 and just having to deal with it, now you glimpse 6 and then draw 6. So you draw 1 less card. So that is a definite downside. You do draw 1 less card, but now you're going to make sure your hand is actually very good. It also has Lineage Release Recover 6. Activate this ability by banishing this card from your champion's inner lineage. That's also crazy. Keep in mind, once you do this, once you banish this card from your champion's inner lineage, you will no longer be able to play fire cards, right? Because you will no longer be fire element because it's gone. But you'll gain 6 life. These are good. These are so insanely good. I was thinking about this and talking with my community over my Discord. You should join the Discord if you want to chat about Grand Archive and other trading card games. But I was like, the only decks I can see not running these are maybe like all-in aggro decks or decks that you just don't care what cards you draw. You just want as many cards as possible. But that Glimpse 6 seems so powerful. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, but Glimpse 6, draw 6, recover 6. Yeah, they're good. They're really good. They're all ultra rares, which is, I hope you like collecting ultra rares. All right, next up, we have Stalwart Shieldmate. Look how cute she is. So she has Taunt, and this is where we actually get to read what the Taunt thing does. Like I said, it's basically like Taunt from Hearthstone. It says, while awake, this ally must be targeted before other units you control during your opponent's attack declaration, if able. So they just have to attack it. And this one has Floating Memory. So this is a 0/2 with Floating Memory and Taunt. Not bad at all, actually. I think this card might make it into competitive decks. It's a great card that'll just slow things down, save you some life, and then you have Floating Memory. This poor little Shieldmate girl is going to get thrown under the bus so many times. I think this is constructed playable, for sure. I think it's a good card. Next up, we have Steady Verse. This is a 2-drop Cleric Tamer skill Melody class bonus. It costs 1 less to activate this turn, or the next Harmony action costs 1 less to activate this turn. Draw a card into your memory. This is kind of a cool little enabler for Harmony stuff, because it costs 2, makes the next Harmony you play cost 1 less, and then also you draw a card into your memory. So I like this card a lot. If you're gonna be doing this whole like Harmony shenanigans kind of stuff, I think this is really good. I don't think there's currently a home for this yet, but possibly in the future. Cool card. Sorry for like the bouncing of the camera here. Next up, we have Terrafring. I think this card's also very good. It's a 0-drop Regalia item Guardian accessory. Banish Terrafring until end of turn. Players can't declare attacks unless they pay 2 for each attack declaration. Activates the ability only during an opponent's recollection phase. Yeah, like this is 0-drop. This is sweet. This is a great card to just slow things down. There's so many cards in this set that are just slowing things down, and I think the game is going to be much better for it. This is just one of them. It's a 0-drop. This is a common card. Everyone will have access to this. I think this card is really, really good against those aggro decks. It's going to be really frustrating against my fire deck for sure. Here's the Majestic Spirit that we mentioned earlier. It's just a 12-cost card from your material deck. This is an ally from your material deck. It's a 4/10, a Regalia ally. So anything that affects Regalias also affects this. Intercept, True Sight, Vigor. Champions you control have Spell Shroud. If another Crux element unit you control would take damage, prevent half that damage rounded up. And it says unit, which also includes your champion. So this is a great way to protect your champion. Your opponent's basically just going to have to kill this. It gives your champion Spell Shroud, but this itself does not have Spell Shroud. So it's pretty easy to kill. Like any direct, hard removal just wipes it off the board. And it's a 4/10, so some decks might have trouble, but I think you should be packing removal in your deck to deal with stuff like this and crawl. So yeah, I think this will be a card you have to play around, but I don't think it'll be as impactful as it looks. And you really have a lot of hoops to jump around, right? You still have to play that other card to summon this, and you have to jump through a lot of hoops to play the other card. All right, next up we have Thieving Cut. I very much like this card. This is a 2-cost, 3-attack card. Prepare 1, which means you can remove a prep counter from your champion as you activate this card. On hit, if Thieving Cut was prepared, draw a card. This is a 3-attack draw card for Assassin. I love this card. This is one of my... I'm going to play this card a lot, just put it that way. I've been having a hard time finding use for all my prep counters in my decks, and I think this is a very, very good use for the prep counters. If you only expect to have a couple prep counters in your deck, you just run a couple copies of this, and every time you draw it, it's a 2 for 3 that replaces itself. This card's very, very good. I like this card a lot. A lot. It's great. Also great for limited. Next up, we have Tithe Proclamation. This is another common card that is very, very good. It's a 1-cost card. Regalia card, so it comes from your material deck. On enter, draw a card. Great. It says players can't draw more than 3 cards each turn unless it's their first turn of the game. This dumpsters, absolutely dumpsters some mage strategies. So once again, more cards to put into your material deck to play against certain strategies. I think this is one that makes it into a lot of decks. It's going to slow down all of... So we've seen a bunch of stuff to slow down all of the crazy aggro and the fire and all that stuff. This slows down the mage shenanigans so they can't draw like a million cards. Great card. Only a common card. It's going to see a crap load of play. Next up, we have Uther, Illustrious King. So this is another card that I spoiled. Uther is a 4/4 for 4. He's Luxem. He has Intercept and Vigor. On enter, you can rest Uther. When you do, banish another target non-champion object. On leave, return the banished object to the field under its owner's control rested. You can do shenanigans with this, and this has been confirmed, 100% confirmed, by one of the creators of Grand Archive, that you can do some shenanigans with Uther to make it so your opponent's object is permanently banished. If you banish Uther or return Uther or remove Uther from the battlefield before basically you have to time it right. So you have the first trigger on the stack, and then you have the on leave trigger. So what you need to do is you need to have Uther have his trigger on the stack and return him to your hand before the first trigger resolves, so you can permanently remove it, because that trigger is still on the stack, right? And then it'll remove the object after. So basically, okay, here's how this works, right? You play Uther, you target one of your opponent's things. Uther is on the battlefield, rested because of the on enter on the battlefield. He's rested, and you have this ability on the stack that says banish another target non-champion object. Now that is still on the stack, has not resolved yet. Now you play a card to return Uther back to your hand. So you play that card, resolve that card, return Uther back to your hand. Then you resolve the you'll resolve the on leave effect, which won't happen because nothing has been banished yet. Uther comes back to your hand, and then that first ability to banish the object resolves, therefore banishing that object permanently. So that's how it works. There are ways to do it. It's tricky. Personally, I really like Uther as just a 4/4 intercept vigor that just eats something for a while, right? It basically, you can eat any of those big dudes that we talked about. It can eat Crawl, it can eat the Spirit, and then like you just punch it on in with it. He's a 4/4, man. He has vigor too, so you punch on in, you can block as well. Uther is really good, and I'm gonna play him in my Water Xander deck for sure. It's just a great little topper there, all around. Can get rid of anything you want. Next up, we have the Vrekken Acolyte. I actually really like this card for my aggro fire deck. It's a 3-cost 0/1. If you're level 3+, it gets +3 attack, which becomes a 3-drop 3/1, which is really sweet. And on enter, destroy target Regalia with memory cost 0. Yeah, like this is a fire card that blows up Lantern, right? You can blow up your opponent's Lantern, so then you can do your fire shenanigans. This card's really sweet and will definitely see play in my fire decks. I think this is another card that, yeah, maybe not maybe not 4 of, but maybe like a couple here and there. But I think it's very good. Like this, I really think the Soul Knife is also very good. This single-handedly makes me really want to play Fire Assassin even more so than I already do. So this is 0-cost 1/1 Assassin Dagger. It's a Regalia weapon, costs 0, which is great. Class bonus, element bonus. You may banish 3 fire element cards in your graveyard to activate this card from your material deck. And then class bonus, on kill, return Vrekken Soul Knife to your material deck. So why I like this so much is you can combine this with stuff like the Fractured Crown. So you can always crunch on in for 3 every single turn. And if you kill something, it comes back to your material deck. And then you can play it on the next turn for 0. Or you can just banish 3 fire element cards and just slam it down already. And then you have Xander's champion ability. His level 2 champion ability that gives him another +1 attack against any rested unit. So this is 4 attack every single turn against rested units with the Fractured Crown. It's not really into an aggro deck. It's more into like a tempo style deck where you just are looking to control the board and then kill your opponent through stuff, maybe like Uther or maybe other like mid-range threats. But I really like this card, and I think this has a ton of potential. So I'm playing it. I'm testing this. Next up, we have Ventus, Staff of Zephyrs. 0-cost mage staff. It's a wind card, which is really interesting. It's a Regalia item, so it's from your material deck. When you activate a wind spell or a wind element mage spell, put a refinement counter on Ventus. Then you can activate or rest Ventus and remove a refinement counter from it. Put in a light counter on champion, which is great. And then you can rest it and remove 3 refinement counters on it to suppress target ally, which basically like blinks them, right? Takes them out and then puts them back in at the end of the turn. Yeah, I think this card is interesting. If you're playing Wind Mage, you're playing this card. I think that's how it is, right? If you're playing Wind Mage, you're playing this card. Are you playing Wind Mage? No, then you're not playing this card. I think it's really cool though. And does it make me want to play Wind Mage? a little bit. I do like getting 2 Enlighten counters a turn. That's pretty cool. Because you can get one from Rise effect, and then you can get one from Ventus. Next up we have, okay, so this is the one that has the errata. This is the Viridian Protective Trinket. This is a 0 cost Regalia item, cleric accessory. Banish it, which is the errata. There actually is no banish part of this. So the actual card just says, during your turn, water element cards your opponents activate cost 2 more to activate. It does not actually have that banish effect, right? So what this card really does is just, it's a 0-drop card that sits around and makes it so your opponent can't activate water shenanigans on your turn. So it's really good against like that new counterspell type card and stuff like that. So yeah, this is the errata. They were pretty bummed that they had to do the errata, but it is like a day 1 functional errata. And you know, the devs have already been like talked about how bummed they are about this. They didn't want that. They didn't want to do that, but they caught it immediately. So yeah. But by the way, I think this card's great. If you're playing against a lot of water decks, if water is a really good meta deck, which I think it might be, because I think there's a lot of great water stuff, this is going to be really good. Next up, we have Voltaic Spear. This card is insane. I've already talked about this before. It's a 2-drop mage spell. Deal 3 damage to a unit. If that unit is an ally, deal 5 damage instead. So 2 damage to your opponent's face or 5 to an ally. And then class bonus. This is an arcane card, by the way. Class bonus. Banish Voltaic Spear from your graveyard. The next arcane element card, or the next arcane element spell card you activate this turn costs 1 less to activate. And with Rye, since you banish this from, if you're playing the Rye that gets +1 level for each arcane card in your banishment, that's basically a cost reduction of 2 for a lot of stuff, because this puts itself in the banishment and then it has its own effect. And also its play effect is 3 damage to opponent's face or 5 to an ally. This is a 4F staple in Arcane Rye. That's it. You just play this card. Next we have Wand of Frost. Pretty interesting card. This is a 1-cost Regalia item, Cleric Mage Wand, class bonus, draw a card. Great, on enter. And then you banish it and target unit's attacks get -3 until end of turn, which is not nothing, right? Because this says target unit's attacks, so you can give this to an opposing champion. So if you give -3 to all of your Lorraine opponent's attacks, that's quite good. So this could maybe get into some sort of water mage control deck, like on the sideboard against Lorraine. But other than that, it's not like a slam dunk or anything. But it's a really interesting card. I dig it. I'm not sure if it makes it into your actual loadout though, other than the scenario that I just said. Next up, we have Wild Heart Lyre. This is a 1-cost Regalia item, Tamer Instrument with Reservable, which is great. Really great, actually, because it's reservable from your material deck. Reservable is the one where you can like tap it, activate it for costs. Class bonus, whenever you rest Wild Heart Lyre, to pay for the reserve cost of a Harmony or Melody card, put a buff counter on an animal or beast you control. This card is super cool, and this is the kind of card that makes me want to play Water Tamer, right? So you have this really powerful card that's basically like every time it's like this kind of thing. You want to play your Harmony or Melody cards, and then you also want to put buff counters on your animals and beasts. I like this, and it also like ramps you. I like this a lot. I still think Wind Tamer feels like where it's at to me right now, but this is putting up a good word for Water Tamer for sure. Next, we have a really cute Wind Rider Invoker. 3-drop, 1/2 on enter. You can remove 2 Enlighten counters from your champion. If you do, draw a card, and this gets +3 until end of turn. Once again, absolutely love the artwork. And it becomes a 4/2, and then you draw a card if you remove 2 Enlighten counters. Typically, you draw a card if you remove 3 Enlighten counters, so that's like a cost reduction of 1. I don't see this. I mean, the effect is like not terrible. I think this is a really good draft card. I think it's a really good limited card. In Constructed, I don't know so much, but I don't know. I just don't know how much Wind Mage is there yet. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Draft card. I'm gonna say draft card. Next up, we have Wind Walker Boots. This one is a pretty cool card. It's a 0-cost Assassin Accessory. Regalia item, class bonus at the beginning of your end phase. If your champion is awake, put a prep counter on them. Yo, every single turn you get a prep counter if you're not using them. And you can banish this to draw a card. Activate it only if your champion has 5 or more prep counters on them. I like this card. This card's sweet. I can definitely see like some sort of like mid-range wind deck using this, like wind assassin deck, where you just get a whole bunch of prep counters and do like a bunch of prep counter shenanigans. Maybe you use the coup de grace from set 1 that has like the double, it's got like the double damage kind of thing on it. If you did the prep, I don't know. I think it's cool. I could see a deck for this, but maybe not immediately. And the final card we're talking about today is Zephyr's Edge, a 0-cost 1/2 warrior sword regalia weapon. Class bonus on enter. If it is not your material phase, it gets +1 until end of turn. And as you saw, there's a lot of ways to play this not on your material phase, right? We've seen it from the killing the Emperor card, killing the King card. We saw it from the new Divine Relic, from Beseech the Winds. Beseech the Winds into this is actually kind of cool, right? You Beseech the Winds and play this for a 0, and then it gets +1, so it has like 2 attack. I don't know. Is it worth it in your deck? I don't know. Like I'm like, do I want to put this in my Wind Lorraine deck? Maybe. Actually, maybe. This is a consideration. This is a consideration, which means it's probably an okay card, especially since I'm already running Beseech the Winds. And there you have it. That's that. An hour and a half. We're gonna leave it here on lovely the Avatar of Gaia. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Fractured Crown in the comments down below. I think I'm gonna do a deck tech here on my Water Xander deck before Fractured Crown launches next month. I will have some cool Fractured Crown stuff coming next month. Maybe some secret stuff that you'll see coming in the pipelines. Maybe a wolf guy on Twitter was like, "Hey, you want to do some cool stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." I wasn't on Twitter. I was on Discord. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.